Hi guys, Andy here. So over Easter, which is a kind of a week and a half ago now, was a special time of the year for me. Not because it's Easter, but because it was phone upgrade time. I'm with EE, and every 2 years they give me the option to upgrade my phone. I honestly can't remember what phone they thought I was using, because I've probably used as a main daily 4 or 5 different devices since whatever they gave me last upgrade. Doesn't really matter. So regular viewers will probably be aware that I love my Note 5. I've taken the skin off, I've gone back to the beautiful gold. But I wasn't going to pass up the opportunity to try Samsung's latest and greatest, the S7, and in this case the S7 Edge. And just, they are both beautiful devices. Anyway, so I've been using the S7 Edge for the last 9 or 10 days, I guess. And it's interesting because sometimes when I'm reviewing a phone, I really can't wait to get back to my main daily device because it's just not as good. And why would you want to use something that's not as good? But for you guys, I battled through using a subpar phone. But in this case, obviously, the S7 Edge, the latest and greatest from Samsung, that just wasn't the case. It is a very, very capable device. I will probably make some references to the Note 5 through the video. I'll try and keep that to a minimum because I realise the Note 5 isn't a good point of reference for most of my UK viewers because you won't have had the opportunity to use one. So I'll keep that to a minimum. But enough of my rambling, really. Let's get on and take a look at the Galaxy S7 Edge. So I've got a little help today with Game of Thrones back in the next couple of weeks. I've got a White Walker over here and I've got Jon Snow over here just to help out. Let's start off with probably what's the most obvious thing and one of the, you could say, the USPs of the device is the design. The S7 Edge weighs 157 grams and at its thinnest is 7.7 millimeters thick. It's quite a sleek design, it's quite a rounded design, obviously, with the curved edges. It's a glass design as well, so front and back is Gorilla Glass 4. It does make it a little bit slippy to hold, and I did find myself being kind of extra careful when using the device, just not wanting to drop it. I also found in one of the universal car mounts I've got, it grips either side and it plugs onto a air vent. And twice I'd had basically the phone popped out, so I stopped using that. I actually found it kind of sat into my Note 5 holder, not properly, not being gripped properly at the sides, but held enough that it was okay. I've actually turned it off. I should go in and turn back on the always on display because that's another. I turned it off just to sort of check battery life. And you see here you get to decide what content you want to show. You can have an image, you can have a calendar. We get to choose the calendar style. So we might do that. There's about the always on. It just gives us the version number there. So then when we turn off the screen, we get the time, the calendar, we get the date, and the battery percentage. Now, you might think that's going to rip through battery like nobody's business, but actually because it's a Super AMOLED screen where the black parts don't take any battery at all, you're only sort of paying, so to speak, for the battery of the whiter areas, which actually isn't very much. I mean, that's slightly more than the regular clock. The regular clock is just that bit as well. What I did find, you saw it move when we first turned the phone off. I think every minute, maybe more often, maybe we'll see shortly. But every now and then it kind of jumps. Now this coupled with the fact that I can't really find there's a way to control the brightness means it actually can be quite distracting. So when I'm watching the TV, I'll lay the phone down on the footrest with my feet up and I'm watching TV. And then every minute you see, boop, something moves, and it is quite bright and it's quite distracting. The amount of times I kind of look at the phone thinking, oh, what was that? And actually it was just the clock moving. So I do like the always on display. It doesn't really affect the battery much. So I turned it off for the last day of use and it didn't. I think I had pretty similar. Maybe I'd have had 5% more if I'd less, if I'd had the, there you go, you saw it move. It didn't move much, but it's just that little movement catches your eye. Maybe I'd have had 5% less if I'd had the always on display, but so I did a shift at work and 9 or 10 hours later I was on 70% without the always on, and to be honest I think I was still in the 60s even with the screen on. So yeah, you could do with some kind of control over the brightness, or more a stronger. No, yeah, just a control. I'd want it just a really faint, dull display, really. But I do like the always on display because I don't really have clocks in my bedroom. I'm normally either looking at the time on my computer or I'm checking my phone. So if I've always got the time displaying on the phone, actually, I do really like that. Very handy. We do also have, if I rub along the side there, notifications. It says there's no notifications. I think if I scroll across, we get the CNN ticker, but that's about all there is. There's no other options at this point for the side, so it's a little underused. There is a change, and let's go in and have a look and show you the side. Did I do it? No. The side clock. Where am I going? Display. Night clock. That's the one. Let's turn it on, and what time are we now? I don't know, if we come, there we go, 4:30 to 7 in the morning, that should cover, yeah, because it's almost 5:30. So, now, when I turn it off, oh, come on. Oh, right, it is there, actually, but because it's a night clock, let me see if I turn the lights off. You see that on the edge? Now, my problem with that is my bedside table is pretty much eye level to when I'm laying in bed. So if we move this round to... It doesn't help because you've got reflections and stuff going on. But you can't... I don't know. I don't think it's showing up too well in the video. But basically, I can't see the clock. I couldn't see the time looking over the clock. I have to get to an angle. There you go. You see it there. You can see the clock very visibly now. So, well, if I've got to do that, you might as well just put the time on the top. So I guess what I'm saying is the edge isn't rounded enough. Let me pop my lights back on. So it's not rounded enough for me to work properly. Having said that, other people have loved it. I read obviously on the internet, and a lot of people really like that night clock. Personally, I've got a little wireless charging stand that I put it in, and just the fact that when I turn it off, I was going to do the side clock again. Just the fact that when I turn it off, I get a clock showing up. Turn that back off. So just the fact that I get that clock when it's on its stand, that's fine for me. What I have realised though is that the notification light, and I don't notice this with my with my Note 5, the notification light is just too bright. If I often wake up at kind of 4 or 5 in the morning. And actually that notification light illuminates most of the room, so I have to kind of pick my phone up and dismiss any notifications and put it back on the charger. So again, it'd be really quite clever, and I know this isn't generally an Android thing, but if they could put a brightness control on the notification lights. It is worth pointing out, although it's always on the screen, you don't have to worry about touching it. Initially, I felt like, I can't touch the screen because it'll wake it up or something, but no, it is, the screen itself is off, or unless I rub around like that and it switches to the side like so. But otherwise, generally, go ahead and just hold it by the screen. That's not a problem. There is a mono speaker coming out of the bottom there. I'm quite a big fan of external speakers. I do listen to podcasts. Even when I'm on the phone, I would prefer to have it on a speaker rather than holding the phone to my head. If I'm at home, I don't do it wandering around shopping malls like that. And actually the S7 Edge is a very good speaker. So I quite like the Note 5 for its speaker. It has a pretty strong speaker, but the S7 Edge, by my decibel meter, has the slight edge. I think when you listen to them side by side, there's not a great deal in it, but it does, when you measure it, it's a slight edge. So, I mean, it's not the best speaker out there, but it's a pretty good, it's a sufficiently loud speaker. While we're looking at the bottom, you'll notice it's not got USB-C. It is on the what is now sort of old-fashioned micro USB. That might disappoint some. Others probably just happy because I have to replace their cables. I believe, and to be honest, I haven't actually tried it. I probably should have. I believe it part of it will be so it still fits in the Gear VR. But for me, that's not a problem. Some, maybe so. Also, it's IP68 certified, so it's dust-proof and water-resistant. And it says over 1.5 meters and 30 minutes. Now, I saw a video of someone that left this phone in a jar of water for 16 hours, I think. Took the phone out, and it was working fine. I mean, like it was only a jar of water, so the depth was literally like a few centimetres, but still, to be in there for 16 hours, and he took it out and he was just operating the phone, it was fine. So that is really quite impressive. So yeah, IP68 certified. If we talk about the hardware, there are two versions. The US get a Snapdragon version. Us here in the UK get the other version, which is an Exynos 8890 Octa chipset, a quad-core 2.3 GHz Mongoose, and a quad-core 1.6 GHz Cortex A53 CPUs, a Mali T880 MP12 GPU, and 4 GB of RAM. Throwing there 32 GB of storage on this device. I think 64 GB is available, but I've not seen it. But that's some top-end, top-spec processing power in this device. On Geekbench 3, I scored 6,500, which I've never seen before. My Note 5 will hang around the 5,000 mark, but this thing clocked up 6,500. Really, really quite impressive. I should grab the little tool. The micro SD card slot, bear with me. Just needed to grab off my shelf. Sorry for not being prepared. So I've got my SIM ejection tool just to show you. It's quite a clever design. So it's got a SIM card slot just there, nano SIM, and then it's got a micro SD slot just above that. So in the one tray it does both things, which is quite clever. I mean, I've seen some Chinese devices, somehow they combine, you can have one or the other. So you can have two SIMs, or you can have a SIM and a micro SD. But still, that's I think that's quite a big point for a lot of people. They really missed when the micro SD card slot left. So hopefully they'll be very happy now that it's back. The screen itself is 5.5 inches Super AMOLED, as I think I've mentioned, 2560 by 1440, which is 534 pixels per inch. I think that's generally, I wouldn't say standard, but kind of standard on the top-end devices, I suppose. Definitely not a problem. I mean, it's a very crisp screen with good colours, as you expect from Samsung these days, with good colours and good vibrant colours. It also obviously has a fingerprint sensor, and actually this one's very fast. So I tested to me the Nexus 6P was kind of the benchmark as far as fingerprint sensors. The SE sort of failed the once there. I don't hardly ever have any problems with it failing, even if you almost think I've not held my thumb on there for long enough. Obviously I've programmed a few different fingers, but it really is very quick. It basically will take on the 6P without too many issues. It'll match it with its speed. Let's talk about the camera a little bit. So on the back is a 12 megapixel. It's got an f1.7 aperture, and it's 26 millimeters, it says. So if you know a little bit about cameras, that probably makes sense to you. The f1.7 is quite important. That means you'll get better low light performance, because the f1.7 means that it can open up wider than most devices. A lot of phones are kind of an f2. f2 is good, but f1.7 is even better. On the front-facing camera, we've got 5 megapixels, again with an f1.7, and this time it says 22 millimeters. Generally, I think they give great images both front and back. Good color reproduction, nice and vibrant and bright, nice and crisp. To me, honestly, when we get to this kind of level, I'm not sure I see a great deal of difference from one photo to another, but they are good. That's the bottom line. They're, very good. I'm underselling it. Video-wise, we can get a 4K video at 30 frames per second from the rear camera. We can also do slow-mo. To be honest, I haven't bothered playing with the slow-mo. You can do 720p, you can do 240 frames per second. The one thing I did notice with the video, and like most Samsung, double tap the home when we go in. Now, so look at the image. You can just about see the image there. If I press record, you're going to see it jump in. You see that? And it's not a big problem. Watch it come back out again. So I guess, because I'm not in 4, I think I'm in just 1080p mode. I think that's to do with kind of the image stabilization and such. If that's the whole sensor, so when it records at 1080p, it cuts out a portion in the sensor, and therefore if the phone itself moves, it can balance up. I'm guessing that's what it is. I don't know for sure. drop us down in the comments if you know a bit better about it. But I've noticed quite often that happens on phones. You press to film video and it jumps in. That can catch you out a little bit. If you're framing a picture, so the top of the head is right at the top, and you press the record, and all of a sudden, boom, and you're looking at someone's eyeball. I did. Let's try see if it works. And I was going to say that no, I mean that generally seems okay. I noticed a couple of times basically I would start filming, and as I moved, I got kind of a rubber band effect. Again, I think it might be to the image stabilization. So I move, and it's maybe thinking, oh, it's just a shake that we need to cancel out. Then it realizes, oh no, you are panning right, and it kind of bounces back round. I only saw that maybe once or twice. Usually just as I start up the video, but I've not. But as you just saw there, it was totally fine. So all in all, definitely the camera. I'm sure you can find probably more in-depth reviews of the camera itself, but all I would say, definitely big thumbs up from me. Very, very good. Definitely on a par with my Note 5, which I consider to be one of the best you can find around. I mean, there are others as well. Obviously, the G4, the G5 would be interesting, and I'm sure the iPhones aren't too bad either, but let's not worry about them. So, yeah, definitely the camera's very good. The front-facing camera, pretty good, nice and crisp, good colours, nice and sharp. Yeah, just generally good cameras. Take it from me. If we mention the software, these days TouchWiz, I've battled through with just TouchWiz as well. I've not installed Nova Launcher, which is my normal sort of response as soon as I get a new phone, especially a Samsung. You can apply themes, and generally TouchWiz is just a little bit more subtle these days. It used to be like really weird, quite solid blue, and the gary, bright, luminous green and stuff like that. And nowadays, it's much more subtle. If you go into the theme store, I won't particularly bother with it just now, but... Oh, I've lost it. Oh, I thought it was one of these. If you go into the theme store, there's loads of options. Some of them are paid, and I personally wouldn't spend a couple of quid like some of them ask. Oh, where have they gone? I did have other themes I was using. Oh, maybe that was my Note 5, actually. Well, let's not worry too much. But yeah, so you can apply a different theme. You can apply like a material theme, and actually there's not a great deal to be seen between a Samsung phone and a Nexus when you do that. I don't like things like when I install a new app, so this one, auto web page refresh, I installed the other day to my battery test, it puts it at the end, so every time I have to tap A to Z please and then save it, and now we see the auto web page refresh is in at A, look, and it's back in alphabetical order. I don't know why they would want to do that. I really don't. Keeping it, maybe it's an iPhone thing and they're copying that, I don't know, but to me it seems quite odd. There is a gaming overlay as well. What can I open? Angry Birds. So I think the first time I ran a game, it basically said, would you like this gaming overlay? And I mean, I don't play a lot of games, but I figure I better have a look and see what it is just so I can tell you guys. And we'll see when it opens at the base. We'll get a little sort of, oh, you see it there, look. So I can turn off alerts during the game, lock recents and back keys, which I can imagine being quite handy when you're playing games. I can minimize the game, I can take a screenshot, or I can record. I don't think there was a great deal in the settings. No. So you see it just, I mean, it's pretty much out of the way. I'd be surprised if you can catch it by mistake, but if you need it, there it is. So yeah, I mean, I don't play a lot of games, but I thought, yeah, I can imagine that's really quite handy for some people. So that's the thing with I actually think Samsung, a lot of their additions they're actually quite handy. The camera app is pretty good. That little gaming thing's pretty good. You got this S Health and all these things. Again, I won't go into detail in what you get with a Samsung device because I don't think it's all that different to what I've seen in previous Samsung devices. So I won't bore you with that. Let's talk a little bit about the Edge. I think we saw in the settings, there it is, Edge screen. So here we are, look, Edge panels, Edge feeds, and Edge lighting. Actually, do you know what? I'm not even sure if I'd looked at Edge lighting. Oh yeah, I did. That's if you put it face, you can see that. Put it face down, it lights up for notifications, etc., etc. So let's look at Edge panels, apps. Location-based apps, contacts, compass. A mental blank there. Weather, calendars. So there's all these different things, and you can download more. Some of them are paid, some of them are free. But in the Samsung account, it's taking a bit of time. Well, I'll show you. I don't know if you can see on the Edge there. There's a little kind of around the power button. So as I slide out, there are my chosen apps. So I can just choose an app from there and go into it. Or I can slide across. So when I'm at home, for some reason it thinks I never use the email app, but music and YouTube, swipe again. There's some recent contacts, swipe again. What's still in my location? That's fine. There's a compass. Calibrate the compass. I'm alright, thank you. weather. So, I mean, on data usage, I mean, they're okay. Oh, go away. Just leave us alone. I don't know that I ever actually used that swiping thing, but it's probably just because I'm not particularly used to it. And if you're used to it, then maybe use it all the time. I don't know. I'd be interested in, if you've got this device and you're watching this video, let me know. Do you find that handy? I'm happier, to be honest, just going in and going to an app, but maybe when you've got the hang of using it, it's maybe it's quite handy. I don't know. On the actual, what was the other things that we had? Let's go back into the settings, edge screen. So edge feeds, that's kind of what I showed you already. So we've got notifications, we've got CNN, we've also got a step counter, but that wants to use the S-Health step counter, and I don't use S-Health step counter. Edge lighting we've seen. So otherwise, on the as far as the actual edge itself, to be honest, I find it quite annoying. What can we perhaps show it with? So Google Plus, I'm in Google Plus, and the amount of times, what's quite going on with my Wi-Fi? Let's see if we can swap over to, let's just disconnect one way or the other. But basically, the amount of times, see, it's not, it won't do it when I want it to, but the amount of times I've basically been, what I thought I've been holding the device, and actually I've had my edge, my finger close enough to the edge that it's selected something, or it thinks you're holding the screen. So the weirdest one was I was trying to take a photo with just my one hand. Yeah, anytime I try and show somebody, it works fine. But basically, my finger had been touching the screen enough that it wouldn't then take a photo. Or I've sometimes had it, so I'm almost I'm going a bit over the top. Yeah, so I've gone over the top and I'm gripping it quite clearly into the screen, and it won't take a picture. It honestly took me a couple of days to realise. I just thought, every now and then, the camera app's broken again. I'd come out and go back in, and I'd hopefully it would work the next time. And I think it was the second day I realised, my because it wasn't like drastically on the screen. It was kind of like that, perhaps. So I find that quite annoying. I also wonder sometimes if the edge of the screen isn't quite as sensitive. When do I see it? I'm trying to think of there's particular instances when I see it happen. But sometimes, I mean, even typing, I suppose, there are times when I... oh goodness, come back. Again, it's going to work fine when I'm on video, but there have been times, I'm sure there's been things near the edge, and it just feels it's a little bit weird touching things on the edge, or even, I mean, you see it a bit, I suppose, in the camera. When you play a video back, to me, it's a little bit odd that the image wraps round up the top there. I'm just not a fan of it. I prefer a nice flat screen. I grant you, it looks really nice. It feels good in the hand. Well, I don't know if it does feel so good when I'm holding it on the edges because it's such a thin edge then. But that's maybe just me being a bit of a miserable bleeder because most people love the edge. I've not found that it's been particularly useful to me, and I was quite happy to go back to my Note 5 with the nice flat screen. Then let's talk just a little bit about the battery. It's a 3600 mAh Li-ion battery. It's got quick charge 2.0, as you would expect, through the micro USB port. It's got wireless charging. It's got a new, I think maybe it's called quick charge 3.0 for the wireless, a new sort of even faster wireless charging. But I think you need like a 15 watt wireless charger. If you get the official Samsung one, I think they're quite expensive, but there are some other manufacturers making their own as we speak. Even with the always on display, actually, I think the battery is very impressive, very impressive. So in my actual test that I do, which is kind of an hour-long test involving playing, I think it's a 37-minute long video, I set the screen brightness to 300 lumens and then play this video, and then it spends the other 23 minutes of the hour reloading Twitter, basically. That's that auto web reload app that I showed you earlier. It actually scored better than any other device. I keep changing my battery test, but in this new format, it's the best score that any of them have scored. My Note 5's got a pretty good battery that only scored, well, I say only, that scored 91%, but the S7 Edge clocked in a 92%. When I have, so sort of my heaviest day, so to speak, is when I go to the gym. And we can see here the graph from the day that I've gone to the gym. And you see in the morning, I wake up around 6:30, I pooter about the place, then off I go to the gym around kind of 8:30, and that's where the the graph starts plummeting down. So you see on screen on time, it's close to 2 hours, so it's not too bad, but I'm sure many will do more than that. But what I think is quite impressive is how it recovered after I'd been to the gym. So you see that graph kind of flatten out around, I think it was around 12 o'clock-ish. And in fact, it said it would have gone on till probably 3 in the morning. So yeah, really on one of my heavier days, really very good. Yeah, the battery, definitely very impressive. Some of the stats that some people are quoting, I mean, I have pretty much everything turned on Google now and all that kind of malarkey that does train the battery. But I don't think I've really seen it, apart from that one day where I went to the gym and I didn't charge it afterwards. I've not really seen it below 50% in a day. Some people are getting 2 days use, 6 hours screen on time, all kind of things like this. It really is an impressive battery and an efficient device. So, what's the conclusion of the Samsung Galaxy S7? I think it looks great, but I don't particularly use the Edge. In fact, I find it a bit of an annoyance. The design of the device is beautiful, though, definitely. It's a top-end camera, no doubts about that. It's got great battery life, possibly the best there is at the moment on an Android device, possibly. Amazing processing power to clock up 6,500 on Geekbench 3. I do really like the always-on display. Generally, Samsung software editions are pretty good. The waterproofing will be a big plus for some people. Not so much for me, I'm not that bothered, but for some people that'd be a really big thing. If it was this size but flat, I think I'd consider keeping it over my Note 5. Or maybe a couple, 0.7, 5.7 inch screen. But for me, the main thing, I'd want the flat screen. I think I would consider keeping it over my Note 5. Okay, it's not got a stylus, but it is a very nice device with great battery life. I mean, everything I've just said, really. But for me, actually, the Edge, and I think I'm very much in the minority, so I don't know. I do apologise because maybe I'm not representing for you how the device will be, but all I can tell you is my experience with it and my opinions. And my opinions are the Edge actually is quite annoying, and I would much rather it was just flat. That's the bottom line. And that is the main reason, or yeah, that and maybe because my Note 5 is that little bit bigger. Let's bring it into play. The screen is that bit larger. But I will go back to my Note 5. But like I say, I think I'm the minority. Most people love the Edge. Maybe they'll make more use of it. Maybe you'll make more use of the swiping in from the side, stuff like that. So, I mean, all in all, yeah, fantastic device. So many positives and so few negatives. I mean, the Edge for me, and maybe it's a little bit small for me, are the only negatives. All in all, the S7 Edge, really, really good device. I'd love to hear your comments and thoughts down below. Please let us know. But for now, my name's Andy, and I'll catch you all again soon.